towards this WE support.
It does leave open picks like Alistair, maybe a Tam Kench or something, but like we're actually gone pretty far down the list. Rakan is going to be the one that Patch decides to go with here alongside the Kai'Sa. I wouldn't be surprised to see Missing going back towards the Alistair. Missing is a very strong Alistair player, fits in pretty well with what WE are trying to do here and can provide some kind of disengage or counter engage if you start to see things like Longxing coming in with this set.
Maybe we go towards like the EU path of Brom. I wonder if that's going to come through. Nope, instead it's Alistair. Okay, you just bop away the Rakan. No. A lot of sense.
Brom can't go aggressive. How do you how do you go aggressive?
That's right. Even Tam Kench is considered as an aggressive move before something like Brom. You're exactly right.
Hail of Blades, you know? You can go for that style of Tam Kench.
True. Dude, I still remember, I think it was either the first part of this week or it was the end of last split, just the Tam Kench 1v1. Or 1v2 rather, at level 1 with a level disadvantage. I can't remember what team, but boy, that's definitely in the VOD. Mole needs that sticker off of his headband. I don't know why someone hasn't picked it off. If I was a coach, I'd be like, does that not? He can't feel it, he wouldn't know. Anyway, Zoe's locked in. We got a Pokemon. We got part of Team Rocket with their pet bull with, I don't know what Pokemon, with a Miltank down on the bottom lane. It's a pretty standard comp from WE.
Yeah, I think as well a lot of comfort too, because Mole, an outstanding Zoe player. I love whenever he gets his hands on this pick. So you do have a lot of poke that can come through, but certainly you still got pretty strong team fight as well when Ezra's able to deal a whole heap of damage. Zoe as well can provide a whole bunch of damage to a relatively squishy front line, apart from Ye on the set in the mid lane on TT. Whereas for TT, we've got that late game scaling guarantee in the Gwen. You got a strong mid game team fight though from the other 4 members, where Set can go in, follow it up with the Equalizer, Sam D with the Killer Instinct to follow up on these engages. It's a very strong dive composition with a lot of damage that can come through very, very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it's over in an instant for better or for worse, right? We're just going into this game. I mean, we're setting our expectations that for TT, they are better than expected. Going for WE, we got to remember that this team has had a massive upgrade in the mid lane, and mid was their weakest position. So we've got a whole new benchmark for WE to perform to. And after versing Suning, there are a couple of messy games there. We want to see them take TT to the Rift and absolutely decimate if they're going to be in conversation for the potential top 4. Dagda, we're going to find out. It's the day of junglers here. Beishang versus Xiaopeng, 2 very high level junglers who have taken matchups that are very standard into the Rift. Rumble versus Udyr. Nothing more to say than, well, alright, Udyr's going to try and slap you and Rumble's going to try and equalizer and get to that 6.
Yeah, I do really like the mid-game fight though, that you can kind of pair up with that equalizer. So I think certainly in the early stages, if I'm looking at the top lane specifically, I think that's where we can potentially see a little bit of play coming through for Xiaopeng on this Rumble. But when you look at the rest of the map, I mean, look, Mole will have control of that mid lane. He can try and help out with a lot of these early scuttles. The bigger issue is that Sam D and Patch should have control of bot side. So I think at least for Xiaopeng, he's going to be pretty happy that in the early stages, the side lanes should be in his favor and he can try and make some plays early.
Because if that Gwen gets ahead, it's going to be lights out, I feel. Dagda, look at the compositions as we head onto Summoner's Rift. Gwen dodges away from like 3 to 4 of these abilities. It's only the Udyr and I guess the Alistar, if he's in Pulverize range, that can deal with Gwen and get her out from the Hallowed Mist. At this point, Ezreal, Zoe, Lee Sin, all those abilities don't do anything because Gwen has W. Like,
and we've seen how much damage the needlework can do as well. So add into the already pretty potent combo we're talking about between Rumble and Set, needlework across the top. Like, that's a terrifying combination. So I definitely agree, like, the solo lane jungle combo here for TT is crazy strong, and it'll be on WE to try and avoid that. Now, I think the best way for them to try and do this is to, again, have Beishang and Mole try and work together. Like, push in mid, start to have Mole roaming up towards his top side, help out Breathe, because although you do have the Hollowed Mist that can avoid a lot of the damage, if you can actually have Breathe, like, kick out Longxing from that, or at least get him out from underneath the turret. You've got Beishang and Breathe who can get inside the Hollowed Mist as well. I think you can go for some dives on towards Longxing.
We'll see at the very least. Starting off the laning phase, it is Longxing who pushes out the wave first, gets his little E reset. It's always the E start here on the Gwen. Remember, you get the attack speed, you get the extra 100 range, and you get the magic damage coming through. while Mole is just pushing up the mid lane as well. Where are the junglers, Dagda? That's my next question. Bottom side start for both, moving all the way to top, but there is a river ward set up by Longxing to track who goes for the scuttle first in case Beisheng is on it first, which we know is the Udyr is always going to be exceptional clearing, no matter the cases. That ward not going to be spotting out Xiaopeng, as he has still not yet done the Raptors.
Yeah, I think Xiaopeng would just move back over now to do them here, although looks like he might actually be considered as Krugs. I assume that what he's going to do is go from the red into the Raptors and then potentially look for something in mid. Looks like that actually is going to be the case, just to try and keep him safe here, and also to make sure that he can cut off Mole, because if Mole tries to go for the scuttle on top side here, he wants to make sure that it's more difficult for Mole to transition there, because he's got to worry about Xiaopeng coming, trying to collapse on him as well. And with Longxing having control top lane, they should be able to move across.
Beisheng certainly seems to think so. Level 4 versus level 3. Xiaopeng in the brush waiting. The Bear Slap going to get rid of the shield as Xiaopeng starts burning him alive, even with a level disadvantage. He's walked into a flamethrower, and that's never good, as Mole actually going to get face break it in, thinking he can do it. The trouble bubble as he flashes over the wall. For WE, that's not the start you want, as it is going to be a great bit of damage coming out of Xiaopeng.
Yeah, and now Mole, no flash, no mana as well, means he can't push in mid, so you should get Xiaopeng to get bottom scuttle. Beisheng was sent packing too, so nice start from TT in the early stages, but the wraparound here onto Longxing.
Longxing doesn't have Ignite, he's still pushed out. Beisheng thinking, alright, well let's just kind of play the do-si-do, gonna do the Krugs for now. While bottom lane, look at what just happened, we got so many summoners burnt across the map. There's Sam D's heal. We have Ignite from Patch, Missing's Ignite, heal from Elk. And now, can we get any more? Well, there's none available for Longxing and Beisheng Dagda. You know what I'm going to say.
Yeah, mid lane though.
Oh, Mole doesn't have to slash his dead. First blood over to TT. Meanwhile, it's up to Longxing to try and survive as long as possible. Beisheng and Breathe are on him as Sonic Wave into Resonating Strike right inside the Hallowed Mist. Kill goes over to Breathe, and there is no TP for him to return to this lane fast.
Yeah, this is a disaster for Longxing. As you said, burnt the TP.
Look at the
Look
wave.
at the size of the wave he's about to lose as well. On top of that, that kill going to Breathe. So now Breathe should hit level 6 first, and that's where you can actually get the burst damage from the Lee Sin to take out Gwen. Whereas, meanwhile, in the mid lane, getting control there with Xiaopeng. This is the early start that we talk about for TT that they oftentimes look to snowball through.
I mean, they definitely did in the bottom lane as well, right? We just saw on the bottom right-hand corner that it was Patch who goes for the engage. Ignite was forced out. It was a summoner for summoner trade. The exact same summoners at that as well in the bottom lane. And as everything comes to a bit of a small lull, which is pretty much not that, we know that coming through the trades, it is better for the side of WE because Mole had teleport, he got back to the mid lane, and even though he lost his flash in the earlier exchange, even though he had to burn both of his summoners over that minute period, at least he's been able to keep up with CS, where that top side, 10 CS down already, and it's like a burning bridge that Xiaopeng now has to decide on.
Well, I think for Xiaopeng, the biggest thing is to try and link up with Ye here, because you can see Ye, like, he's gotten his Merc threads now, he's not going to be under too much pressure from Mole, so he can start to roam as he pushes in like this, where you know that Mole has to play it safe because no TP, no flash, and now they can potentially look for plays on the top side, although you can see there, Breathe, as he shoves in that wave, goes to ward, make sure that he's able to stay safe.
As you should. Level 6 now, so kill threat is there if Longxing ever uses that Hallowed Mist other than to deny the Lee Sin all-in engage. Beisheng, in the meanwhile, has actually gone back for a reset before, picked up the Ionian Boots of Lucidity, and we just keep going up to this top side. Longxing threatened away, missing CS, and that's just the pressure coming out of this Lee Sin top. Another great pick in the meta that just does so well in the lane, Dagda. I mean, when you max E, you wave clear in an instant. He's got the Iron Spike whip. Longxing still doesn't have TP, so I feel like Breathe is trying to bait him back so that he can get some free plates, and he's done it. I mean, that's the back here from Longxing. He'll have the hop to get further down the lane, but that should be about half a plate and a couple of denied minions once again.
And Breathe even has the option to TP in towards these bottom side plays as well, right? Because you know you've got the teleport advantage, you have to be so incredibly safe here as Xiaopeng. Like, trying to start up something like a dragon or trying to force these plays heavily on bot side could lend itself to WE being able to turn them around. So that's why you see him backing away and not wanting to commit to any of these early plays.
I just love how WE playing the early game. 700 gold lead here off the back of the top side. Mid's in a bit of CS advantage. Bottom side as well, going even with an Ezreal Alistar. And Xiaopeng trying to find an avenue into one of these lanes. Mole with his Zoe, his favored pick. Now relying on Beisheng off of the wing. Xiaopeng has the ultimate available, but Mole just going to walk into Fog of War.
Yeah, just going to help you clear that one out. And as the top side camps are all spawning, Beisheng, I don't know if you want to run into there. You're going to get the blast going out, but I don't know if you can actually try and steal away these camps.
Oh no, it works on many levels, Dagda. Beisheng just walks up, Longxing's here. He doesn't have a flash, remember, the Ignite's there, but he's kicked away, and Beisheng will burn him down. 0, 2, and 0, this top lane is a camping trip.
I mean, they saw Beisheng go into that topside jungle, so I'm kind of surprised that we saw Longxing still aggressing so far forward up in that lane. Maybe he thought Xiaopeng would be able to come across fast enough, but with that pick, Breathe gets another turret play on top. They're going to get the Herald as well, and you can just toss this Herald straight into the top side, get Breathe accelerated so far ahead of this Gwen pick that it takes her way too long to become relevant.
You ever seen it solo queue? You know those Lee Sins who are so far ahead? You know, they're like 10 and 0 by 15 minutes in the game. They build a Dusk Blade just because of how far ahead they are. This is competitive. That probably won't happen as, there you go, that's the interaction I was talking about before. Sonic Wave blocked by the Hallowed Mist, but now that that's down, Chilling Smite's there. Yez come on up to try and change the play, but he's looking for the two-man face breaker. Not going to get it as he showstoppers into the turret. Beisheng has flashed away himself as Breathe doesn't have the Dragon's Rage available. But as Mole comes on up, this becomes a bigger issue than just a 2v2. Oh.
Ooh, Patch nearly gets taken out on the bottom side, though. That was close, because you would have had both losing sides of the map. Dragon, in the meanwhile, just go to TT, as yeah, he's trying to stay here to protect Longxing, but needs to get back to his lane.
I feel like as soon as that ulti's up, Breathe is going to go for it. And for now, just the plating at the least. Uses a Tempest there and gets a cripple after the fact. Breathe a level advantage, 30 CS up, and Beisheng knows exactly where to put his attention in this early game. All other lanes at this point you can see, because Mole's mid laner moved up as well, Mole was able to clear the wave, push it in, now in a CS advantage himself. It's looking really good for WE's early game, and these bottom lane trades that we just saw forced Patch back and gave more room for Elkin missing to breathe.
I was half surprised we didn't see Beisheng actually just stick around on that top side, throw down the Rift Herald and force the dive through the Rift Herald, because with the Terror plates as low as they are, they would have taken Terror, potentially taken Longxing along with it. But as you're saying, like, it's WE winning kind of across the map. Yes, Dragon went to TT, but Elkin missing, outperforming the 2v2 Sam D and Patch, nearly getting the kill there, shutting down any opportunity of Xiaopeng to get more in the cross-map play, especially with how much time Beisheng has spent up there. So now Beisheng, he just gets to hold on towards this Rift Herald. You've now got the Kick Flash available and the potential for, Kick Flash available for Breathe, and the potential for Mole to roam up there as well and try to go for the turret and more.
Because this CC chain for Longxing, I mean, he can only block it so
much.
Longxing. Yeah, smited down again. He'll be stunned up, but in the Hallowed Mist, once again the stun comes through. The needlework to survive. Longxing is hoping the Equalizer adds so much, but Sonic Wave from the Dragon's Rage, and Breathe is out after the engage. Thank you again, he shouts, with a 2-0-1 start to game one.
And these advantages are coming out in spades now for WE. Breathe 2-0-1 has a 30 CS lead in this top lane as well. I mean, look at the goal. He's basically 1,500 gold ahead of Longxing right now. And Gwen, this isn't going to get any easier. You've no way of escaping without your, because you don't run a flash, you're just reliant on that snip and slash, and it's not working out at all.
You can see the early Seeker's Arm Guard. He wants out of this prison known as the Lee Sin lane. 40 CS in the lead, 2 plates left remaining. Xiaopeng's coming up, but that was the first equalizer we saw of the game. It didn't do too much, and now that it's on cooldown, there's not much threat to Breathe either, considering that Mole's keeping his farm pushed out, that he can move in an instant. But they're losing sight of where Beisheng is, because they can't commit to the vision, Dagda. They're so far behind in this top side, it's putting out the fire that is burning so rapidly.
And the thing is as well, right, like you're already very quickly moving towards a super strong mid game for WE, with Breathe obviously being accelerated, Elk as well, who'll be finishing off the Divine Cinder and Muramana. He's even getting some plates for himself on the bottom side just because of the pressure Elk and Missing have. Like, WE are in a phenomenal spot right now.
They are, but Beishang is sitting on a ward. I was talking about vision control before, but they've actually optimized towards this top side to make sure they can negate most of the ganks. Beishang knows he's sitting on a ward here. Xiaopeng still waiting for the counter gank. And he has flash available, so WE are not going to risk it.
Turn a bit to time out.
You're right, Dagda. That Herald is about to despawn, and so into Mole's lane it goes. Xiaopeng has the equalizer there. Now I wonder if WE are able to find anything and actually help this charge go off.
The patch is there, but missing. They're walking side by side. Support's just kind of holding hands as they try to go towards this mid lane. Now, plates do go the way of Mole, but again, it's not like they're actually getting that top lane turret, which is what they really wanted to get for Breathe to unlock him from the top side of the map, but they will be pretty happy to at least get something for that Rift Herald and some needed gold in towards Mole's hand.
I think it was all 320 into Beishang though, so I don't think Mole got any in the end. He's still behind 100 gold, but Beishang up 1100, so yeah. Herald just goes over to Beishang thanks to the distance, and unfortunately Mole couldn't step towards it. But Dagger still adds more pressure in the mid lane. Look at where Ye is in his debut game. While in our jungle day, Beishang knows exactly where he needs to be. He looks at the timer and says, oh, is it time to get back up to my camping trip? It is. You know, he's had a beer. He's got to get back before the wife and kids notice, and he's got to make sure that Breathe is okay. Breathe is his affair, I guess.
And he's just fishing right now. He's put his feet up. He's just like, look, I'm going to sit in this jungle. I'm going to wait and see if Longxing's going to make his way past. And if it happens, it happens. If not, you know, I got myself a red buff. I've had myself a good time. We're completely controlling this top side now when it comes towards vision. And again, like, Gwen is a incredibly item-reliant champion. You need to get towards your 3 items where you have the Riftmaker, Azanya's Hourglass, like whether you want to go the Nashor's Tooth or not, but whatever build you decide to go for, you still need to make sure you're getting to those items. Right now, you've got a Leeching Lear and his arm guard. You don't have any sort of items. Like Longxing is irrelevant in any sort of team fights, irrelevant in a side lane, and it means WE, they're free to aggress onto plays like this because they know they'll just win.
And they'll have more damage. Longxing with the TP, but it's going to be too late. Patches already dead. Couple more hits after the Ignite. Equalizer in a good position, but it hasn't done enough work. Longxing comes in, but he is as weak as fiddlesticks at this point. Into the backline. This is the engage from Breathe. He gets the kick. The true shot barrage, but the least him down. Way too deep without the help of WE, but at least Mole's there to clean it up, while Elkan missing on the chase as well. The bear slap, the flash stolen. Mole's ready to get himself a double, and a double is achieved. WE 6-2, a 5k gold lead at 15 minutes as well.
Breed does go in a little bit deep, but he actually gets that kick that you were talking about, making sure that he can set up the fight for the rest of WE, and there we go. I mean, that's how you accelerate this game, by fighting TT when the weakest low Mole.
I can see it coming. He had a fake flash Dagda. I can see that coming, and I thought, why would you ever? Mole, bit troll, but I don't know. I don't know. Dragon at least achieved. What a boost.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, but still, as you said, Dragon comes in. Breed will be able to clear up this minion line, our line anyway, and at this stage, WE, they have options. You can now put Breed down towards this bottom side of the map. You're going to have Rift Herald spawning very soon, but we're going to get a replay here as, look, Patch way too deep on this play, especially when you don't know where Breathe is. 5-man unit from WE shows up, and he's completely caught with his pants down, and then here Breathe tries to make the play happen to get the kick onto Longxing, but loses vision in the brush, so can't get the kick onto Longxing. And even though he ends up getting a nice kick there onto Ye to knock into Sam D and actually stops the Haymaker from dealing any damage to WE, he still kind of got caught out a little bit, but the rest of WE are able to clean up.
You know what was so beautiful about the start? Missing Flash pulverized so that he could catch Patch out, and he did the, you know, the headbutt back towards the team. So a really nice start of the engage from Missing, and Longxing at the end as here we go. Xiaopeng caught out once again, Missing to the rescue as Equalizer on top, True Shot Barrage not needed, and Breathe with his 3rd kill. It doesn't matter if TT are able to get something back in this game. It's always WE making the proactive play. As I say that, it was almost Patch proving me wrong, but a kill up in the top side. Dagger, look at the minion wave, look at the state of the map and how blue it is from mid onwards.
I am so glad that we're starting to see what Breathe is capable of. Because when it's such a mechanically strong player, having things like the Lee Sin, the Akali in the mix are going to do wonders for WE. But Sam D, this ain't going to go so hot for you, buddy.
Especially when Missing's here, Beishong there as well. Nice killer instinct though. Was a good dodge, but the Herald's here. Now it's about defending the inner turret as Elk pushes him down, punishes as well. Couple more hits on the inner, but Herald or Shelly, whichever you want to call it, does die in the end. Lungxing gets a solo turret in the bottom lane to at least catch up in some gold. But the gold lead is still 5,000. It's still WE's game at 17 minutes in. And Mole hitting these trouble balls left, right, and center. Patch has to block for him so Xiaopeng doesn't get hurt. And while that's going on, WE just pick up yet another turret.
Yeah, and again, it's about forcing TT back, making sure that WE are staying in control. Now, when we saw WE in their series against Suning, when we got to this point in the game, WE slowed right the way down. You could see that they weren't really sure about how they were supposed to progress the game. And now that we're in a situation where, you know, Cloud Dragon, it's not the end of the world. TT could potentially give that up if they're in dire straits. And you're not really going to see a huge amount of, like, very quick Baron potential coming through from WE as well, because TT would do so well with a fight in the pit. I'm curious to see now how WE enact their game plan and try and snowball this big lead that they've already gained for themselves.
That's right, because you got a lot of options on the map coming up. You know, that Dragon is up forcing the Soul Point, even though it's only Cloud. Missing actually playing around the lack of vision that WE have been cleansing out. Note that a 38 ward score at 17 minutes from Missing is fantastic. All support players know this, that he's just been on top of his coverage. 2 control wards bought out this early as well, when you don't even have your mythic item. It just goes to show the priority towards vision for WE in this game 1, as now zoning out with the mobility boots as well, making sure Lungxing can't catch the wave, and that threat, that pressure, ends up giving WE yet another turret. These map movements, they're clean, and TT actually still have no response, and you know, another player who's been done dirty in the past, Dagda, I think Missing, hopefully, is starting out the split better than he ended his 2021 spring.
I certainly love him on Alistar. I think it's been one of his strongest picks by far, and you can see here again he's having that big impact, even in the lane phase. But Patch not quite getting connected with the triple bubble, but still, like, strong performance, especially when paired with an Ezreal. Like, that's not a lane you traditionally think of having a lot of strength. Now, as well, we saw him getting up towards Breed in the top side, actually having a bit of roam pressure as well. So, honestly, I think we're starting to see a little bit more of the Missing now. I think as well here, because you've got Missing on this Alistar, the potential for WE to look for these terror dives is sky high. The Unbreakable will be able to absorb a lot of that damage. So if we end up in a position where, you know, Breed's on the top side of the map and he's pushing in, if he's absorbing pressure from, say, Lungxing, maybe Patch, yeah, like, there's the opportunities where you just go, okay, Missing, let's go. We're just going to go and dive the remaining members of TT, knowing we have that big advantage.
When you have the follow-up of great poke, great siege, right, like Mole, Elk, Zoe, and Ezreal do so well at turret aggressions, so I think there's so much to this composition that can work well when WE have this lead, when they can force these turret objectives. As you can see in the side lane, Mole being abusive, and Lungxing just happy he's not versing up against this Lee Sin. Breathe on our screen now with the Sterix Gauge, and Dagda, while we are lulling about a little bit and kind of just waiting for that moment, as WE are going to be pushing in this turret with no response, I wanted to point out that, you know, Breathe, you know, the prodigy we talked about, having another great game, this time being set up for success rather than setting up. As soon as he gets into these fights, it's going to be someone we have to watch, but right now we watch the side lanes because WE have just made the better rotation. They see everyone from TT towards the mid lane, AD carry and Patch included, the vision control panning out nicely, and they're just like, sure, we'll get the side lane turret.
And now you fall back towards Dragon as well, so you're getting that.
Oh no,
Sam D.
There's the kick. Sam D's been Sonic Wave back on in. Tempest again. Missing comes in, butted out, but he's charmed for a moment, so he can't get the pulverize. Well, Breathe wants to do it again, but an inch too far is Patch as he runs away. Yeah, behind enemy lines, hasn't been spotted out, so he'll back. Or at least try to. There we go. Hello. He says to Breathe. As now, this is not the play you want to see. Sonic Wave is there. Yeah, has himself a good haymaker, but Mole's going to help him out. Facebreaker, Showstopper, everything used. Tempest slows him down. Elk now behind the blue buff as Lungxing is teleported in onto Missing. Mole trying to move within range. He takes a lot as Equalizer. Lines and separates them down, but that doesn't matter. WE don't need a numbers advantage. They're so far ahead as the Trouble Wobble connecting, and TT, get the hell out of there! there. Abort the ambulance. It was not for you. It was for WE. TT need to run the hell out of there. I've said it once, I'll say it again. And now it's too late. Sammy D over the wall. He'll find the Lee Sin. And WE slaughter them to bits.
It's into the meat grinder for TT, and they walked in willingly. They thought that had been able to do enough damage to breathe that, Longxing comes in. We've got this, boys. This is our team fight. Xiaopeng in close quarters like this can get so much damage from the equalizer, but WE are so far ahead. Elk is dealing massive damage with this Divine Sunder completed. Same when you look at Mole. That Everfrost getting so much work done in these fights as well. And you get to see it here where you can see, it's like, well, Breed's low. We can potentially go for this. Longxing is slipping his way through missing as well. But as soon as WE right themselves, Mole going aggressive, Elk being able to poke down here as well. And you can see that's where it all goes disastrously wrong, and it's too late for TT by the time they realize it.
And when you're running away from this contact, something we didn't talk about is the chase potential is always better for WE. They're a good gap closers, they're a good way out for this TT comp, but WE have an Ezreal, a Zoe who can pick up summoners, Beishang Pipo runs at everyone, Breathe will safeguard to whoever's furthest in front, and Missing has a Shirelias. This comp runs very fast, and TT were already too deep at that point. 11k gold lead all of a sudden, 23 minutes in, and in their home arena, WE are doing it again. This composition, we've already talked heavily how it functions, and it started with the top side, but now everyone's having a good ride.
And we're kind of seeing the duality of Gwen in this game, and why it hasn't been as prominent in the LPL, it's actually sitting at a negative win rate right now, is Patch.
Well, that's damage. That hurts quite a lot. Mole over the wall once again. If the poke lands from the Paddle Star, you'll see in a moment onto at half health. Sonic Wave sets up for Breed as he's going to be pushing in mid with the Death Stance now completed. This 3-item Lee Sin has had a ripper of a game and is almost at the nice little Flame Horizon. Almost found it. And WE going to take down 1, 2 turrets from the inhibitor. Inhibitor's now threatened. Dagda, look at TT running like headless chickens, trying to work out, all right, do we hit bot, do we hit mid, what can we do?
Well, they're kind of hitting their head against the wall here, because WE, I mean, they're full control. Like, look how spread out they are, you can't really engage, you're not going to get value from your equalizer. You don't actually have someone, apart from Patch, that can really, or who can set up these fights, but they're so far behind right now, it's not going to work. TP for though.
Is this or nah? Beishang is going to go for the slap as the troll bubble doesn't connect. Tries for the flank, but he's immediately regretting it, has to walk away. Missing now set up for the engages. That's a battle star Dagda. Flashes away, trying to live his last moment as Longxing 0 and 5. Gwen maybe not as busted when you sit up there with a Lee Sin and an Udyr. And WE have made sure that Season 11 is beaten by Season 2.
And they're with the, hang on, one last engage.
But Dagda, how does he do any damage? How does anyone do any damage in the end? It's over. Breed's running head first into the rest of this composition. Sam D poked down by Elk, who's had a quiet game, but that's because everyone else has been partying in his stead. And WE in 25 minutes slammed down TT in game 1.
That was dominant from WE. The just sheer control they had from start to finish with, as you said, Beishang consistently going up towards that top side of the map, making sure that they had that fully in their favor. And then as soon as Breathe was in a position, they just took over the game. And even though we saw TT, posturing, maybe trying to make these plays cross map, the fact that you just had Missing and Elk outperforming their counterparts meant that Xiaopeng couldn't really do anything.
He couldn't. And in the day of junglers, right, I don't blame this game on Xiaopeng. I blame this game on the fact that it was the lane state set up by Breed. It was Xiaopeng's cheeky little pathing coming up there as well. And it was a shame because, Longxing on this Gwen, with the stable laning phase, this game could have been very different. Lee Sin comes into fights, he's so far ahead, no one can deal with him. And of course, Beishang was benefiting off this as well, in the fact that he started getting more of the camps, he started invading the top side, and WE, because of it, started prioritizing that vision up towards Breathe lane so that even missing could roam up without anyone noticing and set up for the 3v1 dive.
Yeah, and it felt like, as you're kind of talking about, with Gwen just falling so far behind, there's just a gaping hole in that top lane. Where Breathe is free to try and push in. Then we start to see him rotating around the map faster, so he's getting towards these dragons. They're finding the picks and kills where Patch is going that bit too far forward. And a lot of that, like, pressure that was creating the top side started to eke into other lanes, make it very difficult for TT to try and mount any sort of comeback. And although they tried in some of these plays, you can see Xiaopeng had 1 or 2 nice equalizers. There just wasn't enough damage there from the follow-up to actually do anything.
I mean, more damage than a Zoe. The Lee Sin, who's building Bruiser. Part of me just wanted to see what would happen if we get the Duskblade build, if we get, like a Prowler's Claw Lee Sin. It's ridiculous. You're not going to see it in pro play, but still, Breathe was that far ahead that I feel like anything he did couldn't be wrong at that point in the game. WE falling so far ahead. It was more like triumphantly falling. That was a clean game. And I think this kind of shows the level difference. While we were hyping up TT saying, well, maybe better than expected. And I think that's still true. But against WE in this form where they have so much clear direction and they know exactly what their comp does, there's not much more you can say than well done WE, and let's see what happens in the next game.
Yeah, and once you fall behind to that composition, it's so oppressive to play against.
Yeah.
I mean, the siege potential between Ezreal and Zoe, the dive potential because the Alistair, I mean, even Breathe as well, being able to just kick flash you out from underneath this turret. It becomes so hard to actually deal with. And then even approaching objectives, right? Even if you want to try and contest for a dragon, Alistair is potentially hiding in a brush. You're walking in towards Zoe's and Ezreal with this Divine Sword. It's so damn hard to do anything.
Yeah, and I feel for TT because, again, from that top side stems so many issues. Mole getting involved, missing and getting involved, we talked about. Elk just sat in the bottom lane, had a great time. A game where Joel Monk is not demanded to, outplay. I'm trying to put this nicely. I think Joel Monk can be the weakest member of the team, missing it in parts as well. It is a good game. So, Dagda, look, 25-minute game. It's already done and dusted. We're going to get on a break and hope that TT have something new to show in Game 2. Otherwise, WE might once again. We'll be right back.